Hello, and welcome to the Tavern Chat podcast. I'm your host, Eric Tenkar, your bartender in the OSR, your main proprietor of the Tenkar's Tavern blog. It is May 6th. Renovations continue at Casa de Tenkar. And painting should, for the most part, wrap up tomorrow. Then we get new floors put in starting Wednesday. Hopefully, by the weekend, I have back my living room. New and improved. Looking forward to that. In any case, today, on the blog side, I highlighted the new Kickstarter for Fantasy Grounds Unity. It's used in the Unity language. Basically, the big, for me, the exciting part of this is I've got $300 invested in Fantasy Ground purchases. Never really ran it as a GM. I certainly did enjoy playing as a player. But a couple of reasons why I stepped away from Fantasy Grounds was trying to put in your own adventure, modding that up, putting it into the software. It was more effort than I wanted at the time. And then I moved over to a Mac, and then running Fantasy Grounds on a Mac became an effort and futility. This is going to be bringing Fantasy Grounds not just to your user Windows, but OS X and I believe Linux. I wouldn't know because I only know one person that uses Linux, but hey, some people do use it and enjoy it. In any case, it'll be native to all those. So yeah, I'm looking at this, and I'm looking at Fantasy Grounds, and I'm looking at my history in VTTs, and I think my history is kind of interesting because I've certainly played with, touched upon many of them. My first that I really got into or tried to get into was Kloogewerks. Man, what an ugly fucking VTT that was. Kloogewerks, I played my playtest session with a third edition halfling with a bow. All I know is I got killed in like 2 rounds. Couldn't tell you who was running the session. Was playtesting the software, I think. Not all that impressive. Tried ScreenMonkey. Interesting, not really useful. Battlegrounds. Good looking software. I think it works better with like a GURPS-like tactical RPG as opposed to OSR or D&D type. So, although I have like a ultimate license or whatever they call it over there on Battlegrounds, where has a 5 or 6 floaters. As an aside, an NYPD parlance, a floater was a dead body in a body of water. Usually, in my case, it was the Hudson River, and as a sergeant, I did have one, but thankfully it floated down to the precinct to our south, and it wasn't mine anymore before we had to handle it. But I digress. I've also played them with a Fantasy Grounds, an earlier version of Fantasy Grounds, and I played it as a player, and we were playing Dark Heresy, and Dark Heresy played very well with it because it took care of those combat charts. It took care of the combat tables and the percentile systems. We also played a little Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay first edition on it, or maybe a second edition. But then that group broke up, and then I got into a Castles and Crusades group that lasted, I don't know, 4 or 5 months, maybe. And I liked Fantasy Grounds. As a player, it is awesome. As a DM, it was a bit top heavy. iTabletop. There's a few others that I played with before I found Roll20. Now, when I first started playing with Roll20 was just after being kickstarted, and it was barely usable. That's my God honest opinion. Barely. Fog of War was broken. Mapping didn't work right. You couldn't really draw lines. It was shit. Now it actually works pretty well. Still have issues with my groups using the built-in video, audio. Never syncs properly. Somebody in Florida can't get to listen to somebody in New York, but they can catch the video of somebody in Connecticut, but not get their voice. It was rough. So we've always either used Hangouts or Discord in the background. Now, looking at what they're putting together with Fantasy Grounds Unity, I gotta say, I'm impressed. It's going to have native support for Mac, Linux, and Windows PC. And I like that they mentioned Mac first and Windows last. Just me. Network lobby for easy hosting and joining of games. No port forwarding required. I forgot about that. I learned a lot about networking because of Fantasy Grounds, trying to get it up and running. And port forwarding was part of that. And what a fucking pain in the ass that shit was. But for that to go bye-bye, great. Tile-based map building, enhanced drawing tools, additional dice macro support, dynamic line of sight. Now, if it's easy to set up and forward, I've dealt with dynamic line of sight. First time I played with that, I guess, was I forgot this one, Maptools, which is crowdsourced, pretty much. Not just crowdfunding, but crowdsourced. It's like an open source project. That was, again, too technical for me to handle. I'm not the techie guy. But they also have token tool. So if you want to make your own tokens using artwork from adventures, rule books, whatever that you have in PDF, token tool is an awesome tool to make your own tokens. You can't obviously sell the shit commercially, but using it in your own game, it's perfect. Let's see, paint with images such as walls, animated image effects. I just looking at the video on the Kickstarter, and you can add in effects like rain and snow and fog, and I think that might be fun in certain circumstances. And of course, it's backwards compatibility with all existing campaigns and downloadable content from the Fantasy Grounds store. So I'm excited. Now, if you already have a license, an Ultimate license, like me, that was bought before 2018, I think it's going to cost you $60 to upgrade to the Unity version of Fantasy Grounds. Now, if you have one of those Ultimate licenses, it means that it's like floaters. You get people that other people who want to play with you don't need to have their own license. You're basically supplying one for the game session, and that's how I set it up. I do have friends that are playing with the current Fantasy Grounds, and they like it. I don't think any of them are Mac-based. I do know at least one of them is Linux-based. The DM is Windows. Well, I should reach out to them and see how it's going for them. And see if they're interested in Kickstarter. Now, I'm going to say something that's pretty huge. As I'm looking at this page right now, it's got $227,000 in funding. Its goal was 29. Okay, it's got over 4,200 backers. It's got 23 days to go. There's going to be one of those well-funded RPG-related Kickstarters, and that's a good sign. It's a good sign for other VTTs out there. It's a good sign for the gaming community, and yeah, I'll be backing. So maybe by the end of the year, I'll be tossing around a game session or two using the new Fantasy Grounds Unity engine. So time will tell. But yeah, Fantasy Grounds Unity on Kickstarter. I'll leave I guess I'll leave a link in the description here and the show notes. And other than that, as always, stay safe, be well, God bless, roll those dice. I will talk with you all tomorrow. Later, folks.